What if the last friendship everyone believed in has finally fallen apart? Stay with me, because this shocking twist could change everything you thought you knew about the Brown family. And before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, because we break down every twist with facts, careful analysis, and stories you will not want to miss. Imagine believing that after years of family conflict, there was still one relationship you could count on, only to discover that even that final connection might not be as strong as it once seemed. That is the question now surrounding Meri and Janelle. For years, viewers often saw them as two of the most practical members of the Brown family. They did not always agree, but they often appeared to share a quiet understanding built through decades of living inside the same complicated family structure. While other relationships seemed to rise and fall, theirs looked steady enough that many fans assumed it would survive whatever happened next. But recent conversations surrounding the Coyote Pass property have caused many people to reconsider everything they thought they knew. The reason this moment feels so significant is not because anyone has proven wrongdoing. It is because trust itself appears to be under pressure. During recent discussions, Meri suggested that she believes decisions surrounding the Coyote Pass property may not have unfolded in a way that fully protected her interests. She also raised the possibility that Janelle may have been more closely aligned with Cody during those negotiations than she previously realized. That is an important distinction, because there is a difference between expressing suspicion and presenting confirmed facts. At this point, viewers are reacting to Meri's perspective rather than to any verified conclusion. Still, the fact that she now questions someone she once seemed to trust tells its own story. Before exploring what this could mean, it helps to remember why Coyote Pass became such an emotional issue in the first place. When the family purchased the Arizona property, it represented more than land. It symbolized hope for a shared future, where each household would eventually have its own space while remaining connected. Years later,
misunderstandings. That brings us to the central mystery. Was this simply a complicated financial negotiation where everyone tried to protect their own future? Or did years of disappointment make every decision feel personal? Even without clear answers, the uncertainty itself becomes part of the story. People rarely begin questioning longtime friendships overnight. Those doubts usually develop gradually after repeated experiences leave someone wondering whether they truly understood the people around them. The possibility that Meri now views past events differently suggests that her perspective on several relationships may have changed at the same time. Many longtime viewers remember periods when Meri and Janelle appeared to approach family challenges with a practical mindset. They were not always portrayed as the loudest voices in the room, yet they often seemed focused on solving problems rather than creating them. That public image encouraged audiences to believe they shared a dependable alliance. Whether that perception reflected the full reality is another question entirely. Television only captures selected moments, and viewers naturally fill in the gaps with their own assumptions. Sometimes the relationships people believe are strongest are simply the ones that receive the fewest dramatic storylines. As conversations about the property continued, another layer emerged. The discussion was no longer limited to money. It became a conversation about loyalty.
As the conversation continues, another important question begins to take shape. What if the biggest story is not who received what portion of the property, but how quickly years of trust can begin to disappear once uncertainty enters the picture? Families often survive disagreements for decades, but unresolved questions have a way of lingering beneath the surface, waiting for one defining moment to bring every old feeling back into focus. The discussions surrounding Coyote Pass appear to have become exactly that kind of moment. A situation that was once about future plans slowly transformed into a reflection of every disappointment, every misunderstanding, and every promise that different people remember in completely different ways. From a viewer's perspective, it is easy to search for a single person to blame. Yet reality is rarely that simple.
Financial negotiations, especially those involving former spouses, shared investments, and years of emotional history, are almost never straightforward. Every participant enters the conversation carrying different priorities, different memories, and different expectations. That does not automatically mean someone acted with harmful intentions. It simply means that people can leave the same meeting believing entirely different things happened. That possibility is worth remembering, because public conversations often reward certainty, while real life is usually filled with uncertainty. Another reason this story continues attracting attention is that it challenges long-held assumptions. Many fans believed the strongest relationships inside the family would be the ones most likely to survive after the marriages changed. Instead, viewers have watched nearly every connection face new tests. Some friendships became distant. Others seemed to improve once the pressures of the original family structure disappeared. The shifting dynamics remind us that relationships are rarely fixed. They evolve as circumstances change. Sometimes people who once relied on each other gradually move in different directions, without either side fully realizing when the distance began. There is also the emotional impact of hindsight. Once someone begins questioning whether they were treated fairly, they often revisit old experiences, searching for moments they previously overlooked. Conversations that once felt ordinary suddenly appear significant. Decisions that seemed understandable at the time may now look different through the lens of later events. That does not necessarily mean those earlier moments contained hidden motives. It simply shows how new information can reshape old memories. Human beings naturally create stories that help explain present emotions, and sometimes those stories continue changing as additional pieces of the puzzle emerge. For Janelle, this situation presents its own challenges, regardless of how viewers interpret the events. If another family member publicly questions your role in an important financial decision, there is always the possibility that people will reach conclusions before every perspective has been fully heard. That is why patience matters. Responsible discussion leaves room for multiple viewpoints, instead of assuming every unanswered question already has a final answer. Healthy conversations allow evidence and direct explanations to guide opinions, rather than speculation alone. Looking beyond the property itself, perhaps the most lasting lesson involves communication. Throughout many years, viewers have seen moments where difficult conversations appeared delayed until frustrations had already grown much larger. When concerns remain unspoken, they rarely disappear. Instead, they often become stronger over time, making future discussions more emotional than they might have been if addressed earlier. Whether discussing finances, expectations, or personal relationships, honest communication usually provides the strongest foundation for rebuilding trust. Even when agreement proves impossible, understanding each other's perspective can prevent misunderstandings from becoming permanent divisions. As the family continues moving forward, the future remains uncertain. Some relationships may slowly recover, while others may continue drifting apart. The outcome will likely depend less on what happened years ago and more on whether those involved choose to have direct conversations today. Viewers may never learn every private detail surrounding the negotiations, and that is understandable. Some answers belong only to the people who lived through those experiences. What audiences can observe, however, is how each individual responds moving forward. Whether they choose openness, distance. The deeper this story goes, the more it becomes clear that the real conflict may never have been about a single piece of property at all. Instead, it reflects what happens when years of shared experiences collide with changing priorities and unresolved emotions. Long before the latest discussions surrounding Coyote Pass, viewers had already watched relationships inside the Brown family shift in unexpected ways. What once appeared to be a united vision gradually evolved into separate lives, separate goals, and separate futures. As those changes unfolded, every financial decision naturally carried more emotional weight, because the property represented far more than land. It represented promises, expectations, and dreams that no longer looked the same for everyone involved. That is why every new interview continues to generate conversation, because people are not simply debating numbers.
They are trying to understand how relationships that lasted decades reached a point where trust itself could be questioned. One of the biggest lessons from this situation is that perspective often shapes reality. Two people can experience the same event and remember it in completely different ways. Neither memory automatically proves the other person acted with bad intentions. Yet those different perspectives can permanently influence how future conversations unfold. If someone believes they were repeatedly overlooked, they may begin examining every later decision through that emotional lens. On the other hand, another person may genuinely believe they acted fairly based on the information they had at the time. Those differences do not always have an easy solution, especially when years have passed and emotions have become deeply connected to the memories themselves. That is why this story continues to resonate with so many viewers, because it reflects a challenge many families face when communication breaks down and assumptions replace direct conversations. The answers may never be as simple as fans hope, but one thing remains certain: rebuilding trust is always more difficult than losing it. And whatever happens next will likely shape how this chapter of the Brown family story is remembered for years to come.
The biggest question still remains: what really happened behind the scenes? Tell me your opinion in the comments. And if you enjoy fact-based deep dives into the biggest reality TV stories, hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because the next revelation might change everything.